Well, good afternoon everyone. I thought today that I would show you the Li-Qua-Che and what I do to actually get it ready to pour. So I brought a few things out here on the deck, and I found the moulds for Chanel's hands, which I thought I already had, but they were a split wrist, so I had to pour some more. So I thought this is a good opportunity for me to show you. Now this bucket of Li-Qua-Che has actually gone quite sort of gluggy, I suppose you call it, because it's sat for a while, but that's not going to stop it from being useful, because we just add water to it. So I'm just using my slotted spoon, which I find is the best. Some people use a stick blender, and I used to use one of those until I blew it up, because it kind of sticks in there and gets stuck in the glug. So I try to use a slotted spoon because it doesn't leave a lot of bubbles. So I'm just trying to move this a little bit, because I did put a bit of water in this just the other day. This is the one I used to fix Hannah's body, because it's been sitting and it's been opened. But some of the other Li-Qua-Che that I've had in the shed for quite some time, it hasn't been opened and it's still as good as new. A bit like slip, it doesn't actually go off. So it might thicken up a little bit, but that's not going to hurt. So be prepared for a sticky mess. Okay. Now I'm only going to do a small amount. I'm not going to do a whole bucket. But if I was doing a whole bucket full like this, I would get a very big bucket. And I'm going to add about a third. So that's why I thought that I would get a cup and I would fill it up so you can see. See, it's quite gluggy. Now this is actually a polymer paper mache. So that is a cup there, but I'm not going to add the full cup. I'm only going to add about a third. Then I'll see how gluggy this actually is, because as I said, it's been sitting. And I always have a piece of plastic or something down so you can wipe it, just like slip, it makes a bit of a mess. And I'm just using a spatula like that. And you don't want to stir it up flat out, because if you do, you're going to get air bubbles. And those air bubbles end up in holes in the Li-Qua-Che, and then every one of those holes has to be filled, so you don't want to do that. However, the holes can be filled with a little bit of gluggy Li-Qua-Che, or you can use the dust that you clean off your body or whatever. If you leave it in the tray and put it back into your container, that can be reconstituted with the other stuff. So every single drop of this is useful. Even this, once it's gone really hard, it's not really so useful, but the dust is. And I've just ordered some things today because I want to show you how important the dust mask is and a few things like that. So it'll be a couple of weeks before I really start. I'm getting all the elastics and everything ready, so lots of work going on behind the scenes. And I got Chanel's body out and found there was a big dent in one foot, and thank goodness I had another one. And I'll just show you here how that is actually going. I don't know if you can see that, but it's much more creamy than when I started. Yeah. You can tell if it's pourable. If it's not pourable and it won't go into the moulds, then it needs more water. And I've never used distilled water, I've just used tap water, and I've never had any trouble. However, if you live in an area where you've got discoloration in the water or something like that, then I would be concerned. But we live close to a mountain which has mountain water, so we're quite good water here. So you don't want a whole lot of lumps in this either. Now I could strain this back through a sieve, but this particular bucket has already been sieved several times because I would have mixed it up originally for doing bodies. So it has been sieved quite a bit. And just check there's no big lumps in it, because that will clog up the whole thing. And I'm only pouring a couple of hands and a couple of little lower arms, because the Steiner this is the C-Sup diner, and it has split wrists. And it's not a hand that I use a great deal, so when I looked in my box of spare arms and pieces, I didn't have any. I was very lucky to find the mould. But I'll just look under here, 447 it is. So if you look up the agents for Byron moulds, you might see that they have all the different arm extensions. I think that's just about. I might just put a tiny bit more. And I was just looking for another jug, and this jug I've actually started soap making as well, and I'm quite addicted to that. And this is a special one for doing different coloured soaps so that you can get them into a pattern, and it's got a beautiful spout on it, so they're quite cheap. And I think for pouring either slip or the Li-Qua-Che, that's ideal, because you can just get right in there. So I might just tip this out into the garden like that, and I'll put the slip into this jug. And I never ever clean anything out and into the drains or down the kitchen sink or the laundry or anything like that. Because if you're a potter, they actually have special waste sinks that the sludge goes into, so it doesn't go down the public waterways, because it would build up. So I just use the hose, and I take things like this out into a garden where it doesn't really matter, and I hose the pieces out, so all the bits and pieces go into the garden rather than down the waterways. Okay, so I'm going to pour this in the usual way that you would pour that spout is just fantastic. And to make sure it gets down in there and there's no air bubbles, just give it a couple of slaps. Just leave that. And we're going to leave that for about 4 minutes. is the end of the arm. It doesn't really go any faster or slower than that one did a bit of a bubble up on there. Just top that up. I haven't brought my fettling knife in from my shed. I've got it all ready and I've left it out there. So. But what I'll do when the time comes is I will actually blow that out. So when the timer comes to the time, I'm going to blow that out and drain it back into here. And then I'll leave it for probably about an hour. And it's quite a warm day, sunny day today, so it will set up quite quickly. That one there just needs a little top up. Now the hands, we don't want them too thick because the way that I do it, I've got a special way. None of my pieces are going to be thick poured so that they don't fall apart, because we're going to fill some other parts of it later, and you'll see why. So I want this to be hollow so I can get my pieces that are going in there into the inside of the leg or into the hand. So I'll leave it there for now, and if you're interested, there will be more on Porcelain Petticoats group, and the Doll Artisan Guild are very interested, and there will be more activity coming from them. So if you're a real doll maker who thinks they would use Li-Qua-Che, I would contact the Doll Artisan and they'll give you all the details. But there are some activities coming up, I believe. So I'm preparing and I'm getting ready, and I have most of the things to go ahead with it. So good supply of Li-Qua-Che here. I still have quite a few bottles or buckets of it, and that would last you. I'm not sure how many would come out of a bucket, but if I was pouring them in, it depends if you're pouring all the same or whether you're pouring a bigger one, a smaller one and a tiny one. You're going to get more than, say, 3 bodies out of it, at least, maybe more than that. So every bit is useful. So this here started, that there's finished. So I'm going to turn it off now because I have to rush out and get a straw or something to blow it out with. So I won't say goodbye. I'll just see you later. That stopped.